The Roman attachment to fathers is essential to Roman identity. The Romans had a phrase, the mos maiorum, meaning the customs of the ancestors. And our word morality comes from this. So for Romans, morality was doing what your ancestors would want you to do. The story of Rome's founder, Aeneas, encapsulates this beautifully, that Aeneas escapes from Troy. He's a Trojan. And before he founds Rome, he escapes from Troy carrying his father Anchises on his back. And he also carries with him his household gods, little statuettes of the gods he worships. And what for the Romans, you can see what a beautiful metaphor this is that Aeneas is pious, and the word pious for the Romans meant devout toward his father, carrying his father on his back, so that the real Roman is someone who's willing to carry the burdens of his ancestors forever. So for the Romans, this resulted in a whole host of political and practices and a whole host of customs, in contrast to a lot of other ancient peoples who worshipped youth as the ultimate example of masculinity. The Romans worshipped age. The word for the Senate means an assembly of old guys. The word for old is senex. So what the Romans wanted was a world that was governed by age, and age was that which was worthy of reverence. Every Roman in the Republican period, any Roman of any social standing anyway, would have had in his house a shrine to his ancestors that would contain the funeral masks, the death masks of his ancestors, or little statuettes representing them. And at a Roman funeral, we're told by the Greek historian Polybius, Romans would wear the death masks of their ancestors. So imagine this, you're a young man and you put on the mask of your dead father or your dead grandfather. What this is meant to show is that you are ready to embody that person, and that your whole, your own sense of honor and individuality is subsumed into this other being, your ancestor. The fact that Romans gave the fathers of households tremendous power. It was called patria potestas, the power of the fathers. A father had the powers of life and death over his children, including his male children, even his grown children. And it goes without saying that he also had these powers over his slaves. And then finally, we can see the Roman attachment to fathers and ancestors in their naming practices. All well-born Romans had at least two names, but the only name that mattered was the family name. Julius Caesar, for example, is called Julius. That's not his first name. His first name is Gaius, which is the Roman equivalent of like Joe. You know, the Romans have like 5 first names, and none of them are very important. But the name Julius is his family name. It was the name of his father and his grandfather and his grandfather and his great-grandfather before him. The name Caesar that we call him by wasn't even a name at all. It was actually a nickname. It meant hairy, like hairy head. And it was probably a joke because Caesar was bald. So that nickname, fascinatingly, gets passed down to us as the word for king, Kaisar, Tsar in many languages, for emperor, in fact, because it's adopted by Caesar's own adopted son, who becomes Augustus Caesar, and rules under that name. And he has to adopt that name because it's the name associated with his father. So again, in all of these realms, in their funeral customs, in their legal system, in their government, in their religion, the Roman attachment to ancestors is visible in all these aspects of their society.